That heifer right there just don't even care.
Take yourself out.
What do you say? Appreciate y'all joining us again this evening. Well, we got to get some.
Well, it's okay. I just got it pulled up. I'm trying to catch up.
I'm doing my typical last minute bookmark. I don't know where I'm at in this computer, but I think I finally found at least one of the subjects. I think y'all may be interested. We'll talk about it a little bit. But who we got in here so far? Black Hours, Shane, Ziggy, DC, Chris, Russell Amy, David, Michael, Grammy, Hallelujah B Farm.
That's
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lou. Pastor Lou.
That's Lou. All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody getting in here this evening.
See what happened tonight.
That's it. We it's just been. I'm gonna borrow from Mr. Donnie, one that done our honey taste and stuff. It's been a mully grub weekend. I guess we ain't really felt on top. I guess there's days we felt. Yeah. This weather come in.
Make it to church this morning.
So didn't. I was hurting so well. I ain't gonna get too deep in it, but my back been bothering me quite a bit more than what it normally does. I just told her, I said, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it this morning. We didn't even go to church this morning. But outside of that, we finally did get us some good little rain coming here the last couple of days. We've been needing it real bad.
We prayed for rain, but we didn't really pray for the cool front to come with the rain. I think that's what got us this weekend.
Yeah, ain't been no sunshine, just been that dreary.
Those winter
weather.
times, just the flat gray clouds. You can't see a peak of the sun.
We did try to get a little bit of the old eclipse yesterday. Somehow, I don't know, on the telephone, I was shining that thing up there, and I turned that rascal just at a certain angle, and I guess it was a reflection in the camera lens or something, but you could see off to the side, just like this little bitty dot, and you realize what it was. It was, I don't know, deflecting somehow, but you could see the eclipse in this itty bitty little dot while the camera is shining up at the bright sun. But that didn't last about 30 minutes, and I got bored with that. Come on back inside. Into that.
Todd and Bob and Brian came in. Flower Street.
Yeah.
Jasper's on a roll tonight, y'all. You'll probably hear him a time or two throughout the evening. We'll see. More stuff we forgot.
Sorry, but turn that aquarium off. Maybe y'all can hear us a little bit better too.
Don't sound like there's a river flowing through the living room.
Yeah, but it is peaceful, isn't it?
It is. It's not as loud for us sitting here as that microphone makes it. There's Randy and Mr. Dan Weaver.
Where was we at? Weather.
Mm-hmm.
That's our weather report. Down here in South Alabama.
It's miserable. Not the best kind of weather, but silver lining, we did get the rain we've been needing, so that's a plus.
Yes, Lord, we've been neat. So I'm hoping that, because there's still a lot of that goldenrod out there that hasn't come into either bloom or full bloom yet. So
yeah,
hopefully this rain kind of kick that into overdrive. Maybe we'll be able to do a little bit this season, because past season we don't ever get any kind of fall flow, really, just enough for the bees to put in there and we start feeding.
But there's a ton of goldenrod down here this year. I was counting. We went down the road the other day for work, and I counted like 7 different decent sized fields of goldenrod within like a mile and a half of the house. And that's not counting what's in the ditches and on fence rows and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a ton of goldenrod blooming down here this year.
Then we had to go to South End of the county and look at a little bit of work. And we're in, I wouldn't say extreme northern part of our county, but we're pretty far north in the county. But we had to go about 30 miles, 35 miles south of us. And the further south we got, which you start getting into kind of like the marshy areas a little bit. The land, it's got that old black swamp mud and sense, but you still got good fields, real rich ground down there. And
but real flood prone areas.
I forget what he called them, and I imagine many of y'all watch this. Most everybody got a lot of respect for old Mr. Bob Benny, but that feller that comes on there and does all the talks about the flowers and all that, this dude is just like a flower genius. But got to notice and paying attention on one of the last ones they done where they had the native sunflowers, the old sunflower patch he had out there, but the little fellas. And the further south we got in the county, the more we got of them down in there on the roadside, in the fields, on top of, I couldn't tell you whatever else. There's a whole bunch of purple looking little flowers. The aster starting to bloom. Lord of mercy, different types of morning glory, I guess you'd call them. Buku stuff down there, as they say. And the cotton. It's like half the county planted peanuts up where we're at up here. Most all the big landowners done peanuts this year. But the south end down there,
there was cotton everywhere.
It was. And I wish it was in full bloom. We'd got some pictures for y'all.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that it was just starting to pop out, some of it here and there, but there was, like I was saying, the old goldenrod growing on fence rows down here right now. But it was like there'd be this whole run of goldenrod down the fence line, and right over it's the whole field of cotton that was starting to open up.
Yeah, Mobile's, or the Mobile area, is considered to be the wettest city that there is.
Yeah.
DC, we average on a regular year about 5 to 6 feet of rain.
It rains a good bit all year long. That's the only reason our winters can get, I guess, feel so cold, because it's so wet down here all the time.
And that humidity will roll in, even in the cold months. It'll try to roll in.
When the high is 40 degrees, it can be humid and soaking wet as all get out outside. But we don't get a whole lot of days where it's that cold at all. And when it does get that cold, it's only going to last for 3 or 4 days at the most, maybe, and then it'll be warming up. Most of the time, it's only a couple days, and the weather will start changing again. So,
y'all know what we're talking about, you Southern folks, for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll go through these points of cycles through the winter season, if you will.
You never put your summer clothes completely up down here.
No. And on top of the plant, the foliage gets confused because it'll be freezing for a week straight at nighttime, we'll say. Well, then we'll go another week to where it'll crank on back up into the 70s. So, and you start seeing green foliage come out on different trees and plants and things like that. So,
DC, they probably know better than we do.
Well,
he said, I think part of it's winter will come early this year. It's like his bees are telling him winter's going to be soon. Yep, Flower Street said they had a frost on his tree, but some more.
Really?
Yeah, that's sleep.
Yeah, so it's starting for some of y'all already.
Yeah.
Like Brad up there in Canada and all them guys up that way, they showing up already dealing with almost freezing, pretty close to freezing temperatures again.
Somebody in the maybe Charlie's chat Friday night, but somebody was talking about they had their first freeze warning over the weekend. I can't for the life of me remember who it was.
I'm trying to think who that was too. Somebody up in the North Country up there. I mean, obviously, but
Yeah, but I can't remember who it was.
but what gets me a little bit too, we've been in this cool cycle, but our brothers and sisters in the western part of the southern states, parts of Louisiana, Texas, and all that, they're dealing with 80s and 90s. I think still throughout the day, and we've been in the 70s, mid 70s,
Yeah,
and
it's the warmest we've gotten.
50s at night.
Bob said his highs are in the 60s tomorrow.
Not bingo.
James noticed that he just extracted 8 gallons of fall honey. That's cool.
Yes, sir. And some of y'all, I guess some of y'all had a pretty good, decent fall flow, and I've noticed on some folks watching y'all's that it really wasn't
Mr.
a big
Dan
turnout.
Weaver was just saying he didn't get any. They had capped some over, but he said the percentage was just too high. He put a comment in
Mr. Dan.
there. Yeah. I think he said it was only like 22% or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 22% moisture
Mm-hmm.
that he couldn't pour. There's Keith Spellman and Keith Larimore. Todd's extracting right now.
Yeah, half tracks. I got you on my. I went on and did a little bit of beekeeping news, and you were on the beekeeping news this evening. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
That's the other part of the thing.
Oh, sorry. I wrote on the. I didn't know it was the other part of the prayer list. I wrote on the backside. She's like, realize you wrote on.
Page prayer list. But he wrote his B news on the back of the one I started.
Well, I got jotting and thinking. I was like, well, I got some B news we could discuss. So I just kind of throw out there like in the beginning I was doing, try to kind of pick up on some of that a little bit again. But a couple things.
Larimore said hello, toddler.
But well, you wanna? We'll start with the prayer list. I reckon, y'all. If there's anybody we need to add to or take off of, y'all let us know. We'll definitely get them added. Oh, Jasper. Let me show y'all how much Jasper. Who said that? DC?
Yeah.
See Jasper?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he's agreeing.
He'll wake up in a little bit and realize that he's missing screen time and dive in this chair.
Yeah, get his time in. There was, let's see, we had to add a couple this week.
Yeah, I got him on there. Keith Larimore, still on here. Mr. Mark Miller and Hillbilly Earl. Ed's wife, Miss Chris, at Son of One, Ed. And James McNally, Dirt Rooster's dad, Mr. Pat.
I haven't talked to them.
Let's see. Miss Deb, the Sun Bunny. Charlie said he was doing much, much better. And then Bob's friend, Jason Cooper, Mr. Dan Weaver's family in Maui, Miss Grammy Lisa, her granddaughter, and her son Robert are both on here. And then Bob and his family, but especially his mama and his wife, and all they're going through. And then Tom with Mac Apiary Bees, Randy Southard, Tar Heel Beekeeper.
All right. Tar Heel just said, Tim, I can always use prayer, but I'm back on my feet. You can take me off.
Okay, well, good to hear.
Yes. Awesome.
Good to hear. Mr. Donnie, while I'm on his name, he put, I don't want to mess any of this up, the 10th Mountain Division, 75th Rangers in Syria. His son's girlfriend's son is deployed over there. And then Tim Bailey, Boone County beekeeper. Mark Miller's mentor, Ray Bruce, his family is on here. And Michael Tangway's wife, Miss Cindy, Spanky's co-worker and her family. And that Chris said he was doing better with the COVID. And then the new ones are DC added Miss Carla Green. Said he saw her, or they were talking about her on the Pruitt's Homestead Live, but she's battling cancer and needed prayers. And then in somebody's chat the other night, Morgan Salty Dogs Apiary added his friend's son was deployed. I'm assuming like into active combat kind of thing. And he asked for prayers for them. But Mr. Dan had a good point. I think it was him. Just put a comment. We need to be praying for all of our troops. Period.
And the people in Israel. Folks, Lord knows. We're not going to get into a big political thing on that, but we know what's going on. Pray for the folks.
But it's good news that people are better, getting better.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we can thank you, Lord, for hearing the prayers.
Absolutely.
He's doing it. Let's see here. Mr. Larry Gandy, are we seeing fall honey flow? I got to be honest, we didn't have any kind of, I'm going to have to back up a little bit. We didn't have any kind of major, which we've talked about this all season, spring flow by any means.
Yeah.
But we have kept and we done this last year, even all through DERF. We kept enough trickle to where the bees wasn't touching, like we had some frames that we talked about got on. We probably could have spun them, but beetle damage. So set them out. Gonna let the bees rob it. Well, there's still probably 2 or 3 frames that we had got in the other week and clean boxes and frames. So come spring, all we literally have to do is refresh and wax, boom, set boxes. Frames are clean, all the propolis is off, boxes, the whole deal. But we had them setting out and they didn't hardly rob them. Well, the other week, we had some small little chunk pieces of comb that we couldn't really put into no jars whenever we finished the last little bit of jar and honey and set them out. Was thinking, well, we getting late September on in October here, so we'll test the water and see where they at. They hadn't hardly touched it. That feeder out there mixed up a thing of apis, sugar water, sat it out, still didn't touch it. But I will say on the fall flow part of the present, went out the other day and you're starting to get that smell out there. Y'all know what we're talking about. Now our whole deal was this weekend, get out there and really check on everybody because the times we was in them before, a week or so ago, there was a couple frames they was drawing out. I mean, it wasn't a flow big enough to go, okay, they're fixing to start packing this rascal out, but they're back feeling pretty good, and they're drawing out some real pretty comb.
Well, at least it's flowing enough for them to fill up on them because they're all over it, but not packing it in like crazy, I guess.
Not yet. That's why I'm, Lord willing, since we just got this rain that come in here, and it was the perfect rain that we got. It was all day, really for 2 days. It was that storm system that come up through the Gulf, then it went on up to everybody else, Georgia, the Carolinas, and all that. But
it was such a light rain, it didn't even have enough time to puddle anywhere. Like everything was so dry, it just soaked it up because it never really poured rain.
so hopefully, with that rain that we just got, and some of the goldenrod and whatever else that is blooming out there, that it'll kind of kick that into overdrive, and maybe we'll actually get a decent fall flow for, I'll say, the first time really in our 5 years.
Mm. Half Track said their goldenrod and asters were beautiful this year, but the flow was a huge flop, just a pollen event, hardly any nectar.
So they're not really bringing. They're bringing a little bit. They're bringing, which I'm assuming is going to be off some of the morning glory, a real pretty. It's just about bright white almost, but you can tell it's damp.
Mm.
Then they got that bright orange they're bringing in.
Yeah, but not a ton of
Not a ton of it
though.
yet.
And when we were in the goldenrod field that day, I mean, you didn't see them getting pollen. I mean, they were drawing nectar out.
Mm.
They didn't even hardly have any pollen on their bodies when we were out there that day.
Hopefully we'll have a better fall season than we did spring, because at least where they can get themselves packed out, and we won't have to worry about fooling with much feed or anything along those lines until late in the season, early spring. Definitely keep an eye on it. But we'd love to be able to get just a little bit of a taste of some fall honey. That would be nice.
Yeah, Randy Klingon Farm said he got 45 pounds of goldenrod last week.
I
He
heard that.
extracted it.
So
That's a nice little happy.
so it's just kind of, I guess, well, as we always say, regional, I reckon, or wherever you at. But sounds like some folks having a good run it. Then, like old keeping them up there, it was pretty, but basically what he's talking about, what they had up there in fall was what we had down here in spring. The privet started blooming good. We pretty well knew from, especially talking and seeing folks over there, Louisiana, Mississippi, the tallow or popcorn tree, we call it, probably wasn't going to do that well, even though us, if you want to go far as parallels, we're further south. But it just didn't, it was no kind of nectar flow at all. But that's just part of it. Like going through, I'll get into some of this in a minute. We'll go through our history. Oh, give me the news. Let's read the news, and we'll get into history.
You weren't paying any attention.
Only got 5 or 6 on here on this one, but oh yeah, I had to scratch out. Couldn't say controversial topics.
Like I'm not even going there. I'm not going there.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Beekeeping news. Old Mr. Ed. I know many of y'all probably seen this one too. God love him. He was out there and showing us some big old blocks of wax he done. Then he got into that box of bees, and I was watching it. Hannah was still trying to get up, move around the other morning. I said, "Look at this." And I went back to the part to where the comb, and he shows it in slow motion there, where that piece of comb just rolls right out of that doggone frame and tumbles.
I really did.
Oh yeah, I gasped. I mean, because it's like, y'all know how it is.
Yeah.
You've been there. If not, you're gonna be.
Yeah. If you can keep long enough and pick up enough frames, that'll happen to you.
Like I said in the comment, I just thought, oh no, for no man. But like I said, we've been there. Well, yeah, we've been there. I put it like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I dropped a frame, y'all. It was our first year. I mean, I probably hadn't gotten in the bees a half a dozen times, maybe. And I was convinced the queen was on this frame. I dropped, yeah, I was about in tears because it demolished that frame. It bounced off the metal lid of the hive and then hit the ground. It was terrible. So,
well,
yeah.
last year I done the same. I got honey all over my fingers. Come up with a frame, and it just same doggone thing. Right onto the ground it went. Bees everywhere.
Done it.
All right, moving on. DC's in a dilemma. He needs our help trying to kind of figure out whether he needs to combine or not combine on some of his colonies. He's worried. From what he's saying, he won't take, I guess, the chances of what happened last year because I get he lost everything by the time season come in.
Yeah.
And he's trying his best not to repeat on that end. So anybody got some advice to help old DC out and kind of encourage him? I think Garrison was going to come over, he said, and help him.
He said something about that and take a look and see what he thought. And just kind of give DC a second opinion.
But if there's any of y'all, check that one out. DC, put your title in there in the comments. Anybody wants to help you out, check that out. And two, while we on DC, the last time I looked a while ago watching one of his videos, he was 2 away from 200. So if by chance there's anybody in here that's not subscribed to DC's Bees, y'all go over there and let's get him 200. Moving on. Mr. Mike Berry, video seen that he's dealing with a potential European foul brood on one of his colonies over there. He's working on getting that remedy, getting all that taken care of, and Lord willing, he won't have no further issues with that and be able to get them bees up and going. Mr. Bob Benny, that man you talk about somebody that brings honey in and does some honey business. And I ain't gonna lie, the last few months is when I've really kind of sat down and started watching Bob Benny. And like everybody says, I like the man because he's just, as they say, he seems to be soft earth kind of fella. Just a down home gentleman. Nothing much gets him riled up. I imagine something does, but he's smooth with everything. But said he's having stacked in barrels 4 high in his warehouse full of honey to make room for other, I'm assuming it's like big old crates, if you will, of honey. Get them stacked in too. Then he's trying to build him a website or something along those lines and start selling more bee supplies. Then our brother Keith Half Tracks here. He gearing up for the winter. Everybody else. I watched your video a minute ago, brother, or one of the last ones where you was talking about your nursery yard and all out there. He got feeders on them, baby. Got him some new stacked on top of each other. Go through the winter with. I'll tell you what, Bubba. I love to have the keys to that half track or whatever you call that puppy. You talk about have some fun. Man.
Flower Street said Bob Benny's as smooth as cream time.
Yes, sir. And let's see. Last one on my list for this evening. And I'll do a little more next week, Lord willing. But old Sawmill Charlie done had a great way to run his pumps. He was saying without using them alligator clips, putting the battery in back of his old pickup truck, having to charge that thing up. He done hooked him up a trailer plug in. They just crank the truck, run off it, and you ain't got to worry about charging batteries and all that kind of good stuff. run your pump right out there back of the truck, or well, you
Okay.
side by side, whatever it may be.
Keith, please don't tempt him like that.
What we got?
He said, "Come on over and we'll take a ride."
Yes, sir. Put me on top.
Yeah. Please.
I can see it now. Good old Army
I
helmet.
can see it now too.
Yes, sir. You talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's all my beekeeping news this week. I just threw something together, probably about 45 minutes before we come on, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got to rummaging around here on this computer, trying to went back and done a little more researching or just reading on what
I'm not telling you this time. A
What's
bit too much for you to resist. Put you up on the 50 count.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me pull the trigger or push the button, whatever it is. I would love to.
Yeah.
I went to Fort Rooker one time with a fella, and we got to hang out where the Apache helicopter. Yeah, no. Anyway, whatever the Army helicopter is, it's got the 50 cows and all that on the side and the Hellfire missiles. I think it's the Apaches. But we got to lay right up, well, it felt like right up underneath those Apaches while they was target practicing, shooting them Hellfire missiles and them 50 calibers out of that joker. And let me tell you what, the shells dropped out of that joker before you even heard the boom. That's how fast that rascal was shooting them 50 calibers out of that thing. And I had a blast. But y'all kind of get an idea at the beginning of the show. I just like the explosions and stuff.
Mr. Dan asked what's new in the 1800s bee news.
Quite a bit. There's some interesting stuff the folks was doing or trying. And I'll go back up to one of these is like quite lengthy, and I'm not going to dare read all of that. I can find where it was. While I'm doing that, it's coming back. Yeah.
Grammy said her husband works at Fort Rucker.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to see all that then.
DC said I got to fire 50 cal once.
That would be awesome.
Those rounds are huge.
Oh yeah, that joker, man. You talk? Yeah, it was a. You don't want to get hit by that thing. That's for sure. All right, before we get into too much military and blowing stuff up, because I got another one I could tell y'all, but maybe we'll save that for another day.
I know. She said, "Excuse me, Fort Nova Cell." Not Fort Nova. Or is that the new? Did they rename?
Did they change? Is that the new name, Grammy? Because I know because
political.
The war between the states and all that, but it was pretty cool watching what them men and women train for and all that. But
Lisa, is your husband military?
how many military? Why are we on that? How many veterans?
Yes, they are.
Or current are in here? That has been something. Yeah, Bob. If you are, you know, say I or something, something along those lines, because let's write these people down so whenever it comes time for Veterans Day and things like that, we can remember who our veterans are. Southeastern Colorado.
No. Let's see. Let's see. She found your spot.
Sort of kind of deal. So Grammy says her husband is a contractor.
Okay.
But we appreciate every one of you. One of you.
Helicopter mechanic.
That would be. That's one of my, I guess, bucket listers. I've rode on prop planes, jet planes, everything else, but I've never been on a helicopter. My goal in the EMS field was to be a flight medic, but life kind of deferred that. Eugene Nelson, Vietnam.
I'm scribbling as fast as I can. But keep them coming for sure.
Tritone's daughter.
I got her.
Michael Tangway, his son.
Michael Tangley's son.
Mm-hmm. Chris said that was his job in the military, all weapon systems from 9mm to 16-inch cannon to IE guns.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
wow.
Then you got Mr. Eugene.
So, Chris. Yes. Yes. Let's see. 3 Oaks.
Three Oaks.
Tracy.
Check y'all out. We got
There's all kinds of
you.
veterans in here. Well, thank y'all, all of y'all, very much for your service.
DC.
Cannot imagine what it costs. Man. I'm trying to keep writing.
Let's see. You got Tracy.
DC. Oh, wow.
That's pretty awesome. Sorry, we're not trying to make that aqua salad. We're just
No,
make sure we got everybody's name on here.
I had no idea there was this many vets in our little group. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 7 of you.
Wasn't Bob in the Navy too?
Yeah, Bob said he was in the Navy. And happy, I've told this Bob and his little comment thing, but any of you that were in the Navy, happy Navy birthday the other day. Apparently it was the Navy's birthday a few days ago.
My grandpa would have known that.
Mm-hmm. What was he? Something.
He was, he retired a chief petty officer.
My son got 29 years still. That's wonderful, y'all.
It is.
Sharon says her husband is Navy. Yeah, we're gonna have to try to make it a special whenever it comes to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just
that day,
the ones in the military. The spouses and families serve and sacrifice just as much. Dennis Lentz is a veteran.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, 29 years. That is incredible.
That's a wow.
Oh, the man she's doing the Heroes for Hires.
Okay, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta get all right. I know I keep saying that, but that's just exciting.
There was
Maybe.
Larimore said Mr. Dennis Lentz is a veteran.
Yeah, DC says he thinks so. All right, good deal. We will put that where we definitely won't lose it. As far as to have our
I put it with
our list on
the prayer list.
Maybe we can set it up somehow to where possibly maybe get some of y'all on here. Not to even we can just have you on here to recognize you. It ain't got to be you come on and tell us all your whole experience unless you absolutely want to. Yes, but at least where we can recognize y'all and all that. That'd be awesome. But let's see. At the first of the Gulf War, my brother was in Desert Storm, and my daddy was in Korea. He got shot in the upper part of the chest or something. They can't come back. Something to do with all that. But God bless you, everyone. Either way, ones of you watching right now, and any of you that pick it up later on. Yes, sir. Absolutely. God bless you. Because, as they say, the freedom ain't free by no means. This world lives like it, but we know it ain't. It takes sacrifice from all ends, whether it's the men and women going overseas, and like she said, to the family at home,
Mm-hmm.
whether it comes to their family, immediate family, wife, kids, their mamas and daddies and all that they worry with. But
I did not experience it by any means, but it was my mom's dad was in the Navy for he retired after like 27 or 28 years, something like that. He made a career out of it for sure. But so she grew up. They made, I think, 4 different cross country moves, like from Rhode Island to San Diego kind of moves. 4 kids and 2 dogs and my grandparents before mom was like, I don't know, 12 or so. They made that many moves that far away. And just her stories of growing up a Navy brat were just mind boggling to me. Like, I couldn't. I mean, so, but I'm saying though, somebody like me can't fathom what military families actually go through. I mean, you don't see a lot of it.
I'll tell y'all this real quick because y'all get a kick out of this, and we will get on some beekeeping stuff. But Hannah's grandma, Meemaw, she departed some years back, but her pawpaw, was in the Navy. Well, he was stationed out San Francisco area some point, or they went to San Francisco. But while they was in port, well, Meemaw was there with Pawpaw. Or is that whenever he was telling her that you can't walk the dog across the Golden Gate Bridge because of the way the dog's tail wags, it causes that bridge to sway.
He said he literally, y'all, he convinced my grandmother that the sway of the dog's back walking across the Golden Gate Bridge would break the bridge. It wouldn't work. But
Yeah,
she went to her
she
grave
sure did.
believing
She
that
sure did.
mess. I mean, it was unbelievable. Completely unbelievable.
We even tried to talk to her, Meemaw. Oh, no, that can't happen. But no, it can happen.
That's crazy. Tracy said he was stationed at the Navy base off of DIP in Mobile until they closed the base.
Done some roof work down there. That thing is still closed off, and it's it's eerie. I didn't even know we had that naval base down there, but I guess during World War II they had opened that base up along with Brookley Field. Because my granddaddy worked at Brookley Field then, and it was a military base as well. But that's pretty cool, brother. You're right down the road for the most part. Um, that's been many, many moons, as they say, as far as that old naval base being open down there. I know it's been 20 years since I went down there and worked on them roofs, and it was you could tell that place had been closed for a long time, as grown up as it was down through there, but they still kept the buildings up. It was kind of weird, but uh, that's interesting. Folks right here at the house.
Yeah.
Okay, now
1800s news.
we're with 1899, I think, this year. Yeah,
No.
yes.
No, no, no.
Oh.
Now you one more time, then you can do your 1800s news. Larry Gandy's, I heard that about the rhythm of a cat walking would make it fall.
Oh, really?
I thought my papa was the only one that can make up something like that.
Y'all be careful with some of them tales now. Some folks carry them all the way to their grave with them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's funny.
That is good stuff. Closed in 94. All right. 94, let's see. I'm 12 years old in 94.
I'm not going.
Oh, you wasn't even born.
I was born.
Oh, yeah, you was a little one. Yeah.
I was a little one.
Okay. This is I can't even say whose theory it is. How'd you say that last night?
I think it's Zierson, but I'm not entirely positive.
Yeah, we're just going to call it Mr. Sun's theory. It's in the Volume 1, Number 2 of the American Bee Journal. It's by Baron of Belech. I'm assuming all this is across the pond. But the first position which we are now to consider in the following words: a colony of bees in its normal condition consists of three characteristically different kinds of individuals: the queens, the workers, and certain periods of time, the drones. All this will be readily conceded, but there are some apiaries who contend that there is in every colony a fourth kind of bee, the black bees, quite as distinct as many others, and to which they ascribe the function of laying the drone eggs. Seems plausible too, for it is an undeniable fact that the bees do occur, which are distinguished from the rest by their darker color. So, I guess kind of kicking off, in case I get y'all confused, we know the typical bee, queen, worker, and drone. But in this article, they're saying that there's a possibility of a fourth bee that they're calling the black bee. And the traits consist of differences. Dr. Somebody contends that the color of the constitutional and what is that one? Enumerates.
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
don't see where you
Right there.
are. Enumerate.
All right, enumerates besides not less than 12 other points of difference between those black bees and common workers. Thus, among these things, he alleges that these bees are black when they emerge from the brood cells, that their proboscis is much shorter, that they have no corbicula on their thighs, and they have a smaller stinger, and possess ovaries. It is hard to contend against facts if this be the facts, which I cannot conceive. Among the many thousands of young bees which I have seen emerge from brood cells, I have never seen one come forth of any other color than a lightish gray. All the black ones I have ever observed in my apiary have proboscis as long as others, corbicula as deep, and stingers as large. And it gets into a little bit more of that. Like I said, this one is quite lengthy, so I'm going to have to just kind of bounce back and forth. So we get an idea. One fellow's theory that there's a fourth bee in the black bee, and it's born a black bee.
Yeah, because Chris said what he said, yeah, was another theory that they're just older bees losing their hair.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's later on down into here. It gets into characteristics of, just like she was saying, Chris mentioned, that the bees, the older they get, the darker they get, and they'll appear to be just like a solid black bee.
Mm-hmm.
Respecting the variation in color, greater or less absence of hairy, there is no physical difference whatever between the common and black bees. Their eyes are the same. Pretty much everything else on, like it mentioned before, is the same. But in what way do the bees lose their hair? Or rather, how do they become black? This is the result of age or toil. Not precisely. Toil-worn veterans are easily known by their dark brown color and lacerated wings, which these are the glossy shoot color, sometimes even coal black,
Mm-hmm.
and have generally uninjured wings. The former are the kind of which they may be found in large numbers almost every summer when there are abundant and long continued supplies of pasturage. They are the oldest among the workers, which have labored against and the most industriously on the blossoms of which the plants as
Such point.
such plants. So
Shane said it sounds like the black bees of Western Europe, like German bees.
that may explain it there, because that old cat snake, let me spell it out for y'all. This old dude's the theory name.
And DC said, wasn't there a European black bee?
I'm not sure on that. It doesn't, I guess, specify in the article of which type bee, like what is it, the Russians that are black or have more of a blacker tint to them and all. But what it's saying about the fourth bee and the black bee is that she has the ovaries, but she is a drone layer. So besides you having the queen laying worker is what you want, then during season, we want it saturated with the drone, so you have your good mated queens. But it's just kind of assuming that outside the queen laying drone eggs, that this fourth bee, the black one, during these certain times of the year, she is more of the drone layer, and which helps, I guess, get that into production more for swarming and mating season. But where else we in here?
Dan Weaver said lots of his go black in the later fall.
We see a lot. I'm not going to really say in the colonies. We have
No, when we open things, like
yes,
when we would go, out to where we have the big bucket where we open things, there was solid black bees just everywhere. But we really, I would even look for them in our colonies, and we really didn't see that many in the colonies themselves.
no, we see just
Brian
a few.
said German black bee was the first race of bees to come to America in the 1620s. Langstroth was the first to import Italian genetics for an easier bee to work with.
So that's where we're potentially getting these cross genetics between, which it'd be cool if you could find which you'll probably never be able to do, I guess, feral wild, whatever you want to call them, but be able to find a true full-blooded genetic of either Russian or Italian. I imagine through all those hundreds of years, you're going to have cross genetics. I guess is what I'm trying to say on that. What did Ziggy say? It's hard for me to read from there. Yeah. Black bees of Europe were the most common bee until trach mite, then nearly wiped out the breed stuff. Okay. So trachea mites pretty well knocked that bunch out. Critters once again coming in and decimating the colonies. Got another little something in here to kind of interest my brain. But the origins of the article is origin and nature of honeydew. And myself included, until I got to checking this out and reading up on it. Thought it was pretty interesting, but we often relate honeydew with a little aphids. It's secreting their sugary little substance, and that's where honeydew comes from. But according to this article, It says in the annual report for 1855-1856 of the Royal Agricultural and Industrial School of London is somewhere across the pond. But the following results of investigations made by him respecting the origin and nature of honeydew. Honeydew always makes its appearance when particular species of plants have developed their blossoms. That's number one. Number two, the ripe pollen dust falls not only on the stigma of the blossom, but is generally in large part scattered on the leaves and other succulent portions of the plant, as well as on those of neighboring plants. Number three, if the pollen dust thus scattered becomes exposed to dew, it will rapidly produce a, we went through this last night, corpusma, 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 like, oh, what's his name?
Yeah,
Corpusma.
like peanut.
Oh, peanut, yeah. This term designates a peculiar vegetation of the pollen grains, in consequence whereof, consequence from a portion of them which were readily contained in various forms and sizes in other antlers, a gummy granule substance excludes. Others produce so-called subtube, pollen tubes, and others generate within themselves and mature and extrude still more diminutive grains. What the original pollen grains thus undergo in this threefold manner is in turn undergone by young brood also. The ultimate result is the mixed mass of the pollen grains and the successful generations of brood cells, which finally decompose and disappear in cellulose. Cellulose, yes, resembling yeast cells and mold spores. All right, where I'm going with this, because I probably got everybody confused with my reading here. When that pollen comes off them trees, now them blossoms being blown around. All right, from what it's saying, and I'm gathering, is that as that pollen falls on leaves or down into a blossom, when that dew hits that pollen, here we go. When the corpusma has been formed in a global dew, it fixes and retains by its vegetative power. The humid atmosphere depositions, and we now have the phenomenon of honeydew in the proper sense of the word, as a clammy substance dripping from leaf to leaf. Honeydew has found on the leaves of plants and precisely similar to nectar of flowers, which is in the cup shape of these leaves of the linden. That pollen will catch down in there, mixed with that honeydew. Then I guess with the right atmospheric conditions, humidity, air, all that, it transforms and you get the honeydew. Going on a little bit further in all this, honeydew proper is not the product of aphids, which have commonly been supposed to secrete and extrude it as a saccharine matter covering therewith the foliage of plants and trees. Move back up, go to the top of the page. Neither is honeydew a consequence of the rupture of a superficial leaf cell, permitting the extrusion of saccharine juices, which are alleged to issue at times with such force as a bespatter.
As to bespatter.
Yeah, as to bespatter. So all this comes together. There's a reaction. Long story short,
Mm-hmm.
the honeydew touches the pollen. Boom. There's a process. It turns into, or the pollen turns. Let me stop. The pollen and the dew come together. There's a process, a chemical reaction in a way, and it turns it into honeydew. So that's what we're getting a lot of times. I'm assuming whenever you park up underneath a tree, and you get all that blasted honeydew sitting on your hood and things like that in a pickup truck. But apparently, whenever this happened, you get honeydew. There's all kind of fun little facts, I guess, in this American Bee Journal. You tired of hearing me talking?
Yeah. I'm just saying. We've
She's
already
done.
been going an hour.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh. So you're gonna open chat. Y'all anybody want to come in and
do
yak for a minute?
at like 30 minutes into it.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking we're just about 15 minutes in.
He's just having so much fun, y'all.
I am. But like I say, anybody interested in some of that, Volume 1, Number 2, American Bee Journal.
There really is some cool stuff in there.
There was something, I don't know if it was in this one or what. All right, there was one I was reading a while ago about moths and people storing them in their cellars back in the day. They said if they found the wax moth larva in there, and especially if they found it in a cocoon state, that they would tear that cocoon open and put sulfur on that area and around it. And the way the article, I guess, seemed to talk, that whenever they packed it with that sulfur, with that larva still in there, that they didn't have wax moths anymore throughout the season. But I don't know how many frames and stuff you got to go through to get it tore up. You go through that process of packing sulfur in. But like I said, y'all, a lot of this was back in the 1800s, late 1800s. We got early spring treatment in here. Seems like everybody fed with cane syrup cane sugar back in the day. But the one I was going to try to find was, I read something about the Canadian folks up there, and it mentioned who's in Manitoba up there. Is it Brad in Manitoba? Right? Is that how you say that?
No, you makes a lot. I'm not positive.
It was talking about the folks up there having to deal with basically the same thing, winterizing and all that. Back up.
Did that really say a swarm worth $1 and a half a pound of wax for 16 cents?
Yeah, in 1858, one swarm was worth $1, and a pound of that wax was worth 16 cents
to go buy it.
Then, let's see, 35 pounds of honey. Y'all check this out. 35 pounds of honey at 15 cents a pound.
Yeah.
What else? 2 swarms are worth $5. 40 pounds of honey at 15 cents a pound still.
That's just wild. Yeah, Shane said Brad and Ian both are in Manitoba, or near Manitoba.
Let's see if y'all bear with me a minute, see if I can run this through here.
He said back when $1 was worth $1.
Yeah, ain't that the truth, brother? All right, here's one. I checked this out the other day too. Chilled bees. It's just a little short article on this fella wrote about having chilled bees. In the month of March, Captain Baldstein gathered from the snow on which they had fallen a large number of chilled and apparently dead bees. He laid them on the landing board of one of his hives in the evenings and closed up the apiary. On reopening the next morning at 10 o'clock, they still lay there without a sign of life. But after the sun shined on them for a while, the greater part of them revived and flew to their respective hives. They remained in a number state. They remained
In a
benumb state, 16 hours without being really killed.
Oh, we saw him do that that day, remember?
On
You
the
was
truck,
making fun of me. Yeah, he picked on me so bad for trying to revive them bees, but they were coming back when I warmed them up. I promise you, I saved 25 bees out there that day.
it was right
But
after
they literally just come back.
a day or so after we got that real cold snap, that's 16 degrees or something, that killed all the blooms on everything. And I don't know, a day or two prior to that, I guess, bees come in. It was still warm enough for them to fly before the cold front come in. Then the way it looked, I guess they got chilled because they was on my toolbox on the truck. There was a whole bunch of them laid up there. Well, what was it, 2 days, I guess, when it was real cold like that. But anyway, she went out there and she started picking them up. What'd you do?
I was just blowing on them, just hot air.
Heating them up?
Mm-hmm.
Before you knew it, I forget what video it is, but you can see them starting to move around.
Not in the video, pulled them out of the water. Remember, it was cold, but then the little moving platform we use at work, the red one,
Oh, back
flipped
through.
upside down. And they were, some of them we thought were really gone, but it was so cold they wouldn't, even the ones that were still kicking in the water wouldn't come back around until we started blowing on them and warming them up.
Oh, there was probably a dozen or so, I guess.
That time. But on just a cold day, there was a bunch of them we brought back.
Yeah, only a few of them didn't come back to life.
Mm-hmm. Blew my mind.
Still fumbling through here, see if I can find that. Well, they got a section on drones. I'm talking that thing's like 4 pages. Got another good part on queen cells. It's in that same part of volume 1, number 2. Where did that go?
Didn't tell me what page number you know. Every time you told me, hey, listen.
I know. Well, I went through. I started at on a Cornell University. You can start at 1861, which I don't advise doing that because all it shows is just like 2 or 3 little pieces of paper, and there ain't even. It's more like the front page and the index of it. But if you go on to about the second or third volume of 1861, you start getting into more of it showing different articles in the beekeeping. But later in the year, as you start getting in more to the latter part of the years, you get more into like sell stuff in there. You can get you extractor or get your queens from so and so, buy packages from Mr. Joe down the road. But I can't find it. It had to been on another one. So there's that. Cornell University, y'all.
DC was talking about he likes watching university videos so they can get kind of long.
I'm glad you said that because that reminded me about DC too. I seen you comment in the first part of how everybody picked, I'm first or I made it in first before the actual comments come on the live. But I checked out your link on that video. That was pretty interesting, man.
I didn't see it earlier. I tried to save it. I told him I didn't know you watched it.
I got it saved on It's on our beekeeping part in the playlist. I haven't got
Okay.
that part unlocked, but I'll share it if y'all want to share the link on it. But it was pretty interesting about how the bees, like the hexagonal cells, and they got computers involved in it, and how the bees use every single little space for those cells, and there's no room wasted. But it was interesting. I guess they had the computers watching the bees build,
Mm-hmm.
and so it generated this computer image as well. And it went through and it picked out like drone cells were what I think it said they was like 6.5 millimeters. Then you had a worker cell that was 6 millimeters roughly, or 5.5 millimeters. But how they would bring, like say they brought 3 or 4 tiers down instead of just building one big tier, but how they take and they bring all that together and join it to make one solid piece. So all the actual pieces in that cone aren't truly 6 points. You got some that are 5. You may have some that have a little bit more, or one may have a little bit of an oval, but it's where they join it together, make a weld in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, and combine all that so there's no room wasted on the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Especially bring. That's one thing I will say about the technology. Parts of that, it is interesting how that computer can sit down and put all that stuff together and give you a visual of what's what. Because just imagine sitting down with a frame and going, okay, that's got 6 points, and that's got 5 in it, and so on and so forth on down the list. I imagine somebody has at one point, but it'd be some tedious work. I don't know if I'd want that job or not. Yeah, but Jasper,
Mm-hmm.
Jasper just woke up. They'd be bouncing off the wall here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see some of y'all's comments in here. See Shane saying not the only thing about saving bees could be sickness. Reason they on the ground, which is a good point too. You got a bunch of bees. We was talking about like how that fella said in his article he found a bunch of bees on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
He set them up and they come to life. But something to think about. And I guess especially nowadays,
Yeah, that is a good point.
worrying about sickness or some type of disease. But yeah, I'll let's see, DC can, if you're a moderator, can't you post a link? If not, I tell you what, yeah. DC, post it on your community if you can. That link, anybody may be interested in seeing that. And one thing too, I did like about this, and I went in and checked out this channel. It was a faith-based channel as well. So that was a big plus for me sitting there watching it. It looked like not everything was about beekeeping. It was just about different things on this channel. But the one, yeah, but it seemed to be just that one was focusing on how the bees build their comb and that kind of good stuff. But I'm trying to find too. Talking about them bees building that comb. She's gonna take Jasper out in a minute. But bees building that comb or those cells. And I can't remember where I read it, but I tried typing it back into Google, but the only thing it comes up with hot bees is like a hot colony. But they was colonies, nurse bees, before they graduate on to something else, a hot bee. And whenever they start building that comb or those cells, putting everything together, You got this one old girl, after they get it all done, she tucks her little abdomen down in that thing, wiggles around, molds it a little bit, and as she's wiggling around, she's heating up that little old cell, and it's binding that wax together to create a solid all the way around. And at the same time, she's molding that cell down in there. And we kind of got on this the other week, but maybe old Mr. Ed's on to something down there. By every year, how he lets them bees build new comb most oftentimes, whether brood or for the honey float type thing. But when I was reading on it, that if you stick a frame in, say a brood frame in, year after year after year, 3 or 4 years, while them bees are doing minor repairs and things like that, that cell gradually starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what it does, in some ways, it compromises them worker bees over time, and you won't have such a healthy worker bee by that cell getting smaller each year that they're building and repairing it. So could it be that maybe he's really on to something pretty good, letting them rebuild themselves, and in his brood chambers, that they got the room that they're supposed to have. It's a fresh, brand new cell, and that bee can develop as big as she's supposed to, and so on. But I don't know. But if you Google hot bees, can't find anything in it. So there's another reference out there that may speak of it. Told y'all. Wouldn't take him long. He's up now. But I know everybody preparing for the winter season coming up. We got, like I say, we got all our stuff done for the most part, which we only sitting on 3 colonies out there right now. Hopefully the next week or so we'll be able to take and go out there and go buy a couple more colonies, and that's the plan anyhow, to start getting some nukes on board before.
Give him a spot one, Jasper.
So we'll be ready to go come spring. Hello, Mexican.
Hello.
What do you say, Philip?
Oh, not much. How y'all doing?
Mm.
We're going to get on, but you got to talking about those cell walls, and it's something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I wanted to chime in on my theory on those. Actually, not just a theory. I've read some articles on it too, but I don't use foundation. So I kind of see what the bees are building naturally. If you use foundation, they pull them up using that hexagonal shape. But when you use no foundation, the bees are trying to make a circle, and the circles are pushing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You've ever seen like soapy water where the suds are pushing against each other? They'll form like hexagonal shapes.
I never really paid that much attention to soap, I guess.
Yeah. So what's happening, I believe, is the bees are forming the walls, and they're able to compress the walls except where the circles are touching. And where the circles are touching, they're stronger, so they don't deform that part of it. So it sort of straightens the edge of that circle where it's not reinforced by other cells. As a matter of fact, I see the circles more than I do hexagons on brand new comb, and then it gets more hexagonal as the comb gets older. As a matter of fact, if you look at my logo, it's actually circles. It's not. It looks like a hexagon, but when you push circles close together, they give the illusion of being hexagon. So that's the reason my logo is what it is. If you zoom in close on my logo, it's a bunch of circles that are just very close together. So anyway, you kind of hit a nerve with me on that discussions. I found an article where they were talking about the geometry of the cell wall, and they even talked about it at the very beginning when the bees are forming it. They're perfect circles, but as they pull them up and they compress the walls, those heater bees compress those cell walls, they become what they call hexagons with rounded corners, is the way they described it.
So they only get those flat sides, turning it into a hexagon from the pressure of all the ones around them.
Yes, that's the theory that I always had just looking at them, but that was supported in that one article. It's just a process of it's stronger where there's multiple touching at the intersection, weaker where there's just two cells touching, which is in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, another part too, ain't it? If you're looking at the top of that cell, it being rounded off like that gives them more surface area walking and moseying around.
Yeah. If you look at cap cells, they're most definitely, to me, appear to be circles and not hexagons. You have to look past, where the caps are touching the cell wall. To me, they look like perfect circles.
That's interesting. It really is.
Well, because you think about it just in the beginning, say general basic beekeeping, you're thinking, okay, well, it's going to be a hexagonal cell because that's all you see, like on imprint of, you do a.
That's a stereotypical beekeeper thing.
Yeah. But as I guess you start diving into the actual construction of just that one cell, of how they build it out like that, rounded off on the inside, then on the tops too, taking round that off. They got a process and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, because if you look at the larvae in the cell, it's always perfectly circular, when it's a little C shape as it fills the cell. And it's pretty darn round when it becomes vertical as the pupa too.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, Brian C., he said he recently read the same thing because the wax has to be so warm for it to be molded and add to the comb that it deforms to form straight sides.
yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, the bees are making the cell walls the exact same width all the way around. As a matter of fact, they're very, 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 very beginning of building those cells, there's actually a tiny little void, a tiny little space where they come together, where all those cells come together. But it gets compressed until it disappears. But yeah, there was some magnified images of the new comb, and you could see that little space there just for a little while. It's only like a few millimeters tall before that the pressure forces that out of it.
Yeah. Dane said, Philip, you can't rewrite all those kids' books just like that.
Yeah, if y'all ever get a chance to look at my logo, zoom in real close. You'll see there's circles. There are no hexagons, even though it's.
What's his name tonight? What's your name tonight, Philip? I can't read that small.
Oh, I don't know. What does it say?
It's RTX.
Oh, okay.
It's just regular tonight. I think
it looks like there was something else on there.
I hadn't been able to be clever because I've been driving back from the farm the whole show.
Yeah.
And listening, and I said, well, you know what? It's easier for me to just call in and talk to you than try to comment.
Yeah. So how are things out there?
You know, they're fine. The bees are fine, but they're not going to make me any honey this fall.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. I pulled all the honey supers off except for 2 colonies that had stored a little bit, not much. And I just started feeding the ones that were light, and yeah, I kind of gave up on a fall crop from there. But you know, the ones in Capel are putting on a big crop, so you know, I was sort of reflecting today. I mean, I love to go to the farm. I'd rather be there than here in the city. But it's a long way to go, and I have to kind of go like every 2 weeks to take care of bees. it's like an hour and a half drive one way,
Yeah.
which sucks. I don't recommend anybody having bees that far apart. But what I get to see is totally different behaviors and outcomes. And when I sell my honey, I can put it up there together and they taste totally different. So it's a lot of fun when you're showing it to people. So, you know, in that plus it's an excuse to go down to the farm and be in the quiet for a couple of days every week. So I'm going to quit complaining about having to make that drive.
Yeah.
I gotta go, y'all. Check on them bees. I'll see y'all when I get back.
Twist your arms and make you go enjoy the peace for a little bit, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. So can't go do that event. I gotta go check bees. Gotta go work bees.
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna meet your goal you was looking at as far as your honey?
Well, I think, I don't want to jinx it, but I think there's about 300 pounds on the Capel colonies. So, you know, I'm gonna call it basically a zero in Richland. I was hoping for about 400 pounds total. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'm gonna pull that in. I've got to pull it before November 1st because I've told people at the farmers market that I'll have fall honey again first week in November. I'll have a mutiny on my hands if I don't have it.
Yes, sir. Where's that fall honey, Mr. Phillip?
Yeah, there's going to be a line there, you know. So because there's been a few people that have gone ahead and bought, you know, the spring honey just because they were there, but there's been people who said, nope, I'm coming back in November, you know. So
I'm waiting. I don't blame them. I like fall honey better than spring honey most of the time too.
yeah, I'm the same way. It's my favorite. So.
That's why I got so excited when I started seeing goldenrod everywhere this year.
All right.
Like, maybe we'll get a fall flow.
Yeah.
Y'all usually take and get a decent flow out there, or is it kind of like us?
I haven't gotten any fall honey to speak of. Last year, I was just going out there to remove the honey supers, and all of a sudden, you know, there was a little bit of honey, so I got excited about it, and I figured I had about 75 pounds of honey on there. But when I tried to extract it, it was all granulated, crystallized in the combs. So I was only able to get like 20 pounds out of it, but it was really good. This year, I was hoping I could get to it a little earlier, but they're literally just that I put on 3 weeks ago are just dry. They're not filling. I think part of it, I think they're actually finding stuff, but in most cases they had depleted all their other honey during the dirt, so they're storing it below, and they just hadn't been enough surplus to get it up into the honey super. Except on two colonies I found a little bit of honey that they're storing, so I left those on there. That was it.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, of the 3 years, the first year nothing, but the bees were pretty young. The second year, a little, but it was crystallized, and this year is back to zero again in the fall out there. But I'm not feed every colony either. I'm probably only feeding like not even half of them, so that's good.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll get on a little bit of.
Yeah, I hope you guys get some in the fall.
I do. I don't even care if we can only pull enough for 2 jars of it. Just if we can get some goldenrod honey, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's plentiful, that's for sure down here.
We'll see what
you
they
saw
do.
bees. Did you see bees working it?
Oh yeah.
They was pulling the nectar. They wasn't packing in the pollen off of it. But when we was out in the widow woman's field the other week, buddy, they was pulling every little bit of nectar they could out of them little flowers.
There was bees everywhere.
That's good.
Even old red wasp was out there getting him some sweetness too.
Yeah, I mean, we saw bumblebees and mason bees and honeybees.
Yeah, I stopped at the neighbor's house down the street and gave them a jar of honey. on my way out, but they told me that they got like 3 inches of rain in that last rainstorm, which I was surprised. I didn't think they got that much. But it's still extremely dry. I put out a video today. It was a short, but I've got a open air colony on the bottom of one of my swarm traps. I mean, they literally could have. They're 6 inches from the opening of a nice box they could have moved into, and on the bottom of the box. You gotta wonder if it's messing with my head. But anyway, it's right next to one of my ponds, and I video the pond in that short, and it's just really low. We need rain bad.
Yeah.
I think one old timers was telling me at church last week. I think he said we was about 2 feet below our average. And we did get the last 3 days. Yesterday, day before.
It didn't rain a lot today. It missed it a little bit, but
We got about 1.5 inches between those 3 days, but it was it wasn't a runoff, so everything was able to get them a good drink.
Mm-hmm.
But we have been in a drought for Lord mercy, about 1.5 months.
I haven't. I saw you goldenrod across the road from my place, just on the ditch bank, but there was very few. It was just one every 15, 20 feet, just 1 or 2 blossoms. And then the main thing that's blooming on my place is broomweed. It's pretty good amount of that going on, but I haven't seen I usually see a lot of asters, and I'm not seeing that this year like I did before. Saw a few asters, very few though. It may be coming on later, but it was cool this morning. We were down to like 50 degrees this morning. It was the coldest it's been yet.
It's been cool here too.
Oh,
really cool.
Yeah, a lot of
high 40s tonight, I think. Then kind of start cranking back on up to our regular temperatures throughout the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weren't you saying it was going to hit 90 again for y'all pretty soon? This week or something?
It might be gonna. I don't think it's gonna get to that again yet, but it could. You can't ever tell around here.
Yeah.
Yesterday it got up to like 73 was as high as it got. It was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that California. Here, that'll help me make it home.
And now we can see you.
There you go.
Instead of just darkness.
Put my home light on. Let me get the camera further away then if you can see me.
Mr. Dan Weaver, I had to go back and look, but I think
They told us to send it to Blaine.
I think we have to go back and look for sure. Let's see, Michael Buck. We loaded with goldenrod here in Darlington. So they got some rain.
I think he said something else. That's what he's talking about. Your name right now says Gunline Bees Honey Contest winner under the pillow.
Does it still say that? That's
it does.
Yeah.
I knew I saw another line under there, but I couldn't really read it.
I was robbed from that competition. May leave it like that all year.
Yeah.
Who won that? I can't remember who won that.
Actually, Mr. Dan Weaver won it.
Yeah, it was his wildflower, wasn't it? The wildflower.
Yeah, the wildflower.
Now I will say,
he's in Minnesota.
Huh?
Is Dan in Minnesota?
He's in Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah. I want to say he said he's not too terribly far from Gettysburg. Somewhere up there.
That's right, because he was saying if we ever got up that way to holler at him, and we'll meet us up there at Gettysburg way.
Yeah, if he hadn't scored so well, you guys were going to have like a big tie between several people, weren't you? I couldn't remember.
A massive tie. There was like I think 7 people tied for second place and 5 or 6 people tied for third place. I told Tim, like, I was starting to panic. I was like, we got to come up with a different scoring system because this is going to be ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
an 8-way tie for first place.
Would I think if I was going to do that, just for the sake of the judges, I would just have like a tournament where you said, I like this one better than that one.
Well, that was my idea, but somebody had to get technical with it.
Somebody did too much research.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, don't you think you're getting just a little bit out of hand with this? Oh no, we got to make it official. I'm like, you're calling it the unofficial official contest.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. It was fun to watch though. Oh, phone died.
Uh-oh. Oh yeah, we had a good time doing that.
GPS.
I mean, folks already talked what they was talking the night of, saying, "Hey, I didn't send my best, and wait till next year, and I'll."
Yeah, and even your defenses that you sent in your letter or whatever, you know, what'd you say?
Popular with the ladies and children.
Yeah,
if I don't win.
it's more popular with the women and kids if I don't win. But Ollie, our little 6-year-old nephew, we yak about all the time. He blew my mind. Normally, he's not real big on honey, but he loved your honey. I couldn't believe it. I thought he was gonna spit it out bigger than anything. He was like, "No, I could eat that." Same as he said with Mr. Weaver's. If you give me a spoon, I could eat it.
He sure did.
He's gone.
Yeah, he dead battery. I think it was.
It went all the way out, yeah.
That little rascal, because we give him some of our honey. We're like, here, Handy Boo made some biscuits and rolls or whatever it was that night.
Mm-hmm.
Said, here, try some honey on here. You're going to love this.
He turned his nose up to it.
He didn't want no part.
Mm-mm.
But when we started getting them packages in the mail and it would come time to open them up, yeah, can I try that one? Or let me see what this would taste like. Then the one Philip sent, it had to me, it had like a mint taste to it. If you put, I guess, as far as comparison on flavor, it had the most different flavor. It didn't have the typical, y'all know, the regular, I guess, like honey flavor. Sweet honey, I guess. But I mean, it was good. It was just really different. And I didn't think Ollie was going to go for it at all. And that he told me the same thing he told me with Mr. Dan's jar. But if you just give me the jar, I can handle that. It's like, yeah, in your dreams, kid. Ziggy says he'll have to send some down, make it easier on us. We'd all appreciate that. I mean, we really did have a lot of fun with it. There was a lot of fun. Ain't gonna lie, there were some moments of panic of going, uh-oh. Yeah. How we gonna line all this out and get it all put together? Because it was growing way quicker than we knew what to do. But, I mean, way quicker. I'm gonna get a shelf built. I'm gonna take that. Let's see right here. Yeah, that piece of glass out right there by Yosemite there. And take that glass out, and I've got some rough cut cedar. Make some little shelves. I think the way we figured it out between what we got from everybody this year, we should be able to get everybody stacked up on there and make a little honey shelf. Because she's saying I'm running out of room. Yeah. All we had in the get-go was just a little old, I don't know, a spot maybe 16, 18 inches square. And we already had that full of just regular guard stuff. Yeah. Like pepper jelly and preserves and stuff like that. But we had some things figured out. We got a pantry, so we got a shelf just for the honey now. But that is on our little list of home improvement projects. Yes. Yeah. Build a honey shelf in there. Keep yakking, sir. Are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he always tells me to do that. Oh, okay. We figured that must have happened to you, Philip. I don't know what he's doing, y'all. He never warns me when he's gonna dip out like that.
I told everybody. I was going to show them on the last one, which I made me if I forgot. But
What?
that pretty piece of propolis. Say that 10 times real fast.
Yeah. Come on, babe.
Got a little propolis, y'all. Uh-oh. I don't know if it'll pick up everything on the camera or not, but it looks like poo on the camera. But there's a whole bunch of yellows and orange and red and all that mixed up in that thing. But Joker, you talk about shine. That Joker shined up just nice and pretty. Like a 5-year-old at show and tell.
Yeah.
Isn't that there? Where we at? Camera. See them orange and stuff there? I just thought that was pretty cool. But now we got to figure out how to, I guess.
I sent Brian an email and asked him about that. Like, what's the best way to, I guess, break that down and make it usable?
Yeah, y'all, or if you got one on your channel, let us know. Or if you know anybody, like far as melting that propolis down and cleaning it up and all that good stuff, what's the best ways to do that? We got a bunch we're wanting to get cleaned up, but I'll be honest, we hadn't sat down.
Hadn't really researched that.
But we do want to get into it for, well, several reasons. To take it would kind of help with anti-inflammatory and build up your immune system and all that good stuff. And you did take it for a little while.
I took it for a while until I got so sick with this hernia mess, and I just wasn't able to take anything. But
did it kind of seem to help you some, or be able to notice?
Oh yeah, the anti-inflammatory part got me where I didn't have to take ibuprofen for a while. I started taking it a whole lot more when I turned allergic to the bee stings, and I couldn't use the venom anymore. But
awesome, Brian. We're gonna holler at you then, brother.
Mr. Dan said that chunks bacon and be soaked in grain for some winter tincture.
No. Yeah, something along those lines, yeah.
Because I mean, I was just like, I would cut off just a little hunk of it and ball it up and just take it like a capsule or something. But if there's a better way to deal with it, I'd love to know about it. For sure.
Get it broke down in that liquid form, like a tincture you're talking about. And it's showing up getting your system real quick. Your body ain't having to process and break down.
Yeah, that's pretty much what ours is.
Yeah, that's about all around here as far as them pulling a good resin off something. I say, yeah, majority of it is nothing but old yellow pines or them old lollies around here. But when that when that sap gets up though, I mean you don't want to park underneath an old pine around here. Not like that when that sap starts dropping.
Trouble. Oh, word.
But that is my go-to medicine. I've got several old pine trees out here I'll go to, and I'll keep on weeping just a little bit. So the event while we at work or something along those lines, I cut my hand, bust a thumb, or whatever the case may be.
It makes a great liquid Band-Aid.
Oh, it does. That old pine sap, just raw pine sap. Slap it on whatever it is. let it sit on there until it falls off.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm say usually about a day or two, it's pretty well healed up without no scars. But that's my old go-to.
Use it for a long time.
Yeah, burn. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna cut it here in a few minutes, y'all. I think. Prepare for the week. Yep.
A lot of people stepping out, going to bed. Tomorrow's Monday.
Yeah, 'cause it's 9:45 on the East Coast there. But like folks like Todd and them, they at
They were
7 o'clock,
earlier.
6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, 'cause we got the long ride this week. We going to the south end of the county where we was talking everything. We'll see if we can try to get some, at least maybe some pictures of what's blooming down there, 'cause it is real pretty. Get some of them fields of goldenrod and cotton.
It should open up before we get done working down there. At least more than what it is now.
Oh yeah, there's some fields where that cotton is blooming and just getting just as pretty. It's almost got that snow look to it, if you will, to us out through there. But there are some fields a little further south to where they're just now got the flower bloom on them, but they hadn't put off the actual cotton
They're
yet.
pretty too. Either way,
It is.
southern snow. That's what they call it down here.
Oh yeah. I wish they'd have planted our fields up here, but they done that. They planted last year, cotton up here.
I know they rotated out.
Yeah, remember we went down and got to Swan out of the old place there, right down the road.
Oh, yeah.
The whole field was full. But I guess they rotate them out, mostly between cotton and peanuts down here. But y'all, we're gonna go ahead and cut it, I reckon. We appreciate everybody coming in. And y'all have a blessed week. You better wake up.
I'm trying.
You still gotta let Jasper out.
He's going back to sleep.
All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy.
Y'all have a good week.
That's it. God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see y'all on the next one.
Y'all take care.
Tell them about it, Jasper.